Hey guys, thanks for tuning in today. So today I'm going to talk to you about what it's like sitting in the third row seats for the Hyundai Palisade. And yours truly got to experience that firsthand when I forgot my driver's license the other day and my wife had to drive, and with my mom in the passenger side vehicle and my daughter and niece in the second row, I got volunteered to sit back on the third row, and it actually wasn't too bad. It was actually pretty spacious. If you've seen all the other reviews out there about third row seating passenger SUVs, you'll know that the Palisade as well as the Telluride are one of the top SUVs ranked, and there's a reason why. Before I go ahead and get into that review, go ahead and check out my other Palisade videos too. I have a video on how to hardwire a dash cam. I also have a video on some of the accessories that I got for my Palisade, including a roof rack. And I'll be coming out with a couple more videos here soon. One about all the technology that's in the Palisade, and then another one coming up on our 1-year review. So I'll be doing that here soon too. So if you haven't yet already, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll be notified when those videos will be coming out soon. Let me go ahead and tell you about the third row seating from the Palisade. Now, before I get into that, I will tell you that before we purchased the Palisade, my wife did not want to consider a minivan. I personally think minivans are great, but she wanted to stick with an SUV. Our previous vehicle was an Acura MDX, and that also had a third row seating. And so she wanted to stick with an SUV, given the higher clearance, the higher seating position, as well as just a bigger vehicle that can still fit more passengers than 4 or 5, because typically we have some of our kids' friends or my nieces sitting in the back too when we need to shuttle them around. So with that, we looked at 3 separate cars. We looked at the Honda Pilot, we looked at the Acura MDX, the new one, the 2020, and while she didn't want to consider the Palisade, I was keeping up with all the reviews, and so I asked her to let's at least check it out and let's at least test drive it. So we test drove the limited version, and she really enjoyed it, especially all the technology and the safety features in there. And the plus was that it had the third row seating, which is actually pretty spacious considering we got the captain's chairs edition, giving you that middle aisle access. And to me, that was actually a great bonus, because for people that are sitting in the third row seats, it gives you much more leg room to be able to stretch out your legs into that middle aisle. One of the things we had to decide between when we looked at the Palisade Limited Edition was whether to get the captain's chair or the bench. And the main reason why we went with the captain's chairs is because we have 2 kids, and for them it'll be much more comfortable to be able to be set apart. They won't be fighting for their elbow room. Plus, you also have the aisle access that gives somebody the ability to stretch out their feet in the third row, and somebody to walk back and forth between the third row and the second row without having to move the chairs. And that comes in handy if you have car seats that are put into the second chair or the second row. The captain's chairs are great because, again, it makes it a lot more comfortable for the passengers that are sitting in the second row, as well as the third row too. So that's why ultimately we decided to go with the captain's chairs. One of the cool features of the Palisade Limited Edition is the ability to recline as well as to lift up the seats from the third row through the infotainment center. As you can see here, you go through the settings and then the menu, and then you can actually unfold the seats. And this can come in handy, for example, if they're folded down and you're about to pick some people up and you needed to quickly lift the seats up. So not only can you raise and lower the seats from the infotainment center, but you can also do that through these buttons here that's accessible through the trunk. And not only can you do the third row seats, but you can actually fold down the second row seats with those buttons. And that comes in handy. For example, if you needed to store something large into your trunk, you can go ahead and push those buttons to fold down the second row chairs. So now I'm coming to you from the third row of the Hyundai Palisade, and I wanted to show you how much legroom there was back here, especially when the seats, the second row seats, are either pulled back all the way or if they're pushed forward all the way. All right, so I'm in the third row seat, and now I have the second row seat pushed back all the way, and you can see it's pretty much hitting my knees, so it's not the most comfortable. Of course, I can stretch out my legs into the aisle between the two captain's chairs to give me a little bit more room, but it's bearable. I can make my legs a little bit wider. It's bearable for, you know, a couple-hour road trip. It's not too bad. I have my amenities like the vent here, my own little vent up here. I have my own USB charging port, my cup holders, and I also have the ability to recline the seat. So if I recline the seat, it's actually not too bad. It's a lot more generous. The recline is a lot more generous than it is on an airplane when you're sitting in economy and the seats literally recline about a centimeter. Why do they even have that in there? I don't know. So let's go ahead and push the seat back up. Now the second row passenger is obviously going to have a lot more leg room when the seat is pushed back all the way. But if there's a passenger in the back, it's obviously going to be a little tight back here for an adult my size. I'm currently about 5'9", so this is what it's like when I sit back here with the seats pushed all the way back. Now, let's see what it looks like when the seats are not pushed all the way back and actually pushed as forward as much as possible. So here's what it looks like now with the second row seat pushed up all the way forward. Now you can see that the second row passenger won't have as much leg room, but now the passenger in the third row seat has much more leg room. My knee is probably about 2 to 3 inches away from the seat in front of me, allowing me to be able to stretch out a little bit, and again, just giving me a little bit more space. I gotta say, another benefit of the Palisade Limited is the second sunroof. It's much larger, and it does give the illusion that you have much more space back here. The other nice thing is the ability to recline the seats, which is available on the limited edition as well as an option on the SEL. And each passenger on the right and the left side has their own USB charging port. So passengers in the third row seat have their own charging port, the passengers in the second row seat have their own charging port, and then of course the passengers in the front have their own charging port too. You have your own speaker back here in the third row seat. So if the driver wants to use an intercom system to yell at the kids, you can obviously hear that back here. You have your own vent, which is nice, so to keep you cool or warm during the summer or winter. And again, the legroom isn't that bad when the seats are pushed back forward. And with the captain's chair, you have the ability to stretch out your legs, and you have the ability to go in and out through the middle aisle, or you can obviously push the button for the seats to go forward. You have the ability to do that through the button up here, and you also have the ability to do that through a lever on the bottom part of the second row. So this is what the second row seat looks like when it's pushed all the way back. The one in the front is pushed all the way back towards the third row, and the one in the back over there is pushed all the way forward. So this gives you some perspective of what it looks like from the second row seats. Again, this is the seat pushed all the way up forward. And now this is the seat pushed all the way back. So you can see how much room there is between the two. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Like I said, there'll be some other videos related to the Palisade coming here soon if they're not already available. Go ahead and check my channel to see what some of the other videos are, and please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys soon.